And I'm joined by our expert royal panel, news.com.au royal commentator Bronte Coy and media writer for The Australian, Soph Ellsworth. Ladies, welcome back to the show. Now, I spoke about Australia potentially becoming a republic in my editorial, and I think that the first world whinging from the Australian Republican movement is a winner for monarchists. Soph, do they not see the damage they're doing to their own prospects, or do they just not care?
Well, Caroline, I don't think they do see the damage that they're doing to their prospects. Peter Fitzsimons was really a gift that kept giving until he stepped back down from the Republican movement. But I don't think they're prosecuting their case well enough. And I really don't believe at this point in time Australians want to move to a republic. I know the left side of the media loves to whip this up and stir it up as if it's something that Australians want. But as we know, the Prime Minister has said it's not something he's going to look at in this term of office. And I don't think it's something that's going to happen anytime soon. As much as the left side of politics would love this to happen, I think they're dreaming.
Yeah, I think that they are too, and there has been a lot of talk about it, but I don't see it being a priority for Australians. But Bronte, you'd think, knowing the age of the Queen and obviously with her passing away, you'd think they would have been more strategic about this, particularly given that there's been such a big change to the face of the monarchy, but it just seems like they have no plan here.
It is interesting. Even when I was in England at the time that the Queen died, there was this extreme swell of support for Charles. And surely there, as you said, there could have been a strategy in place from the Republican movement, perhaps at that time. And possibly also they didn't quite anticipate just how much support there'd be for him in the wake of the Queen's death. It's almost like people rallied around him, recognising that it's his mother. And so while they were mourning, it gathered a bit more steam there. But yeah, I mean, certainly the writing was on the wall with the Queen's age, and it does seem to be something that there isn't a huge appetite for right now. Even Anthony Albanese, as Sophie mentioned, has said that he won't be putting this to making any changes during this term of office. So certainly it doesn't seem to be anything that will be in the next few years at least.
Yeah, I think that's fair. So last week I spoke about Camilla and how she's the woman who just holds the whole show together. Apparently she has a trick which keeps King Charles on track at public events. What does she do?
Well, she gives him a little bit of a tug behind him to say, you know, pull yourself into line or let's get going. And, you know, this is something that I think isn't such a bad idea. We saw that issue that King Charles had when his pen wasn't working and he got a bit agitated. Camilla seems to be the calming force behind King Charles. So everyone's got their ways of handling their partners, and I think, you know, she's clever in doing this because we have seen him get a bit flustered publicly. He does say a few things that perhaps he might not think is the right thing to say at the time. He might, you know, blurt out something that's not quite correct, or he might get a bit hot under the collar like he did that time in Northern Ireland. So this is the secret to her to keep him into line, and I don't think it's such a bad idea.
No, not at all, particularly given how constant the media attention is. Now, Bronte, the other thing we talked a bit about last week was the turnaround in public sentiment towards Camilla. It's been a huge change, but I'd really like your view on it. I didn't have you on the show last week, but I'd love your view on it. It's impressive, isn't it?
It is impressive. I think that Camilla's weathered a lot of storms in her time. I mean, there's nothing more damaging than the War of the Waleses in the 90s. And I think that people have recognised that she is Charles's partner in every sense of the word, and she clearly is good for him. Even talking about something like pulling on his coat to let him know that he's gone on a little long. She's just his partner in the truest sense of it. And I think that that's what people have seen over the years. That's gone on for really at least 2 decades now. And I think that is going to be her enduring legacy, is that she is she's his constant. He's constant in his life.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And Bronte, one more for you. The invitations to the coronation have gone out. Are the Sussexes invited and are they coming?
by all reports, the Sussexes have been invited, and that was to be expected. There isn't really any other way moving forward here than Charles for him not to invite them. But whether they come or not is the question. I personally believe that they will, because I don't see that they'd miss the opportunity to be part of such a historic event. And 5-10 years down the track, when the dust is settled, they possibly have considered the fact that they may regret it if they aren't part of it, because it really is quite a final nail in the coffin if they don't attend. With that said, it's really a no-win situation for Charles. He had to invite them, but at the same time, whether they attended, whether they don't, it's going to be pulling focus. It will inevitably turn it into a little bit of a circus because people will be paying attention to the Sussexes. What they're doing. Is Harry there on his own? Has Meghan come with him? It's a bit of a nightmare scenario, to be honest. Either way.
Sophie, I think that's fair. It's a lose-lose situation, or a win-win. Well, no, it's a lose-lose situation anyway. Do you have any particular view on that?
Well, I think that they really would love not to be invited so they could play the victim. Wouldn't this be a great book or a great sit-down with Oprah to say how disgusting our family are, we're not invited? That's exactly what I think this toxic couple really want, Caroline. So I think the King is playing it smart. I think it is smart to invite them. I think, as Bronte said, I think they will come along. They can't miss the opening of an envelope. But I just hope that it doesn't diminish the coronation focusing on King Charles, and Meghan doesn't put herself front and centre like she always tries to. So does her husband, to make themselves the story. So I hope they have some dignity if they do attend, but I wouldn't put it past them to turn this into a tale as woe is me, because that's what they do perfectly and so beautifully, and they've made a fortune out of doing that.